All right, and we're back. Yeah, sorry I had to cut that video a little bit short. We ran over and you guys didn't miss anything. It's fine. So yeah, this is gonna be the next video that I'd record. Today is July 30th still. Um, and so in the first video, we kind of talked a lot about masculinity. And we got into like my weird, disaffected, alienated feelings about masculinity and but also like a weird sense of loyalty to it and how it's kind of intertwined with a lot of things in my life. So I guess what we're going to talk about then is like the other side of that and like, well, Cam, you talk about how you don't like it, but then you talk about how you have like a connection to it. So what's going on here? And well, there's kind of a reason I'm thinking about physically transitioning and other things like that. Um, and it's very complicated, and that's because there's kind of a flip. There's kind of the opposite of masculinity is femininity, and it's really complicated. Um, and I I want to also emphasize something is that when I was talking in the first video, I really didn't say that I feel like a man ever. I talked about having an identity with masculinity, having a link to masculinity, but not being a man. And I think that's kind of an important distinction to make. And I'm going to make it again because I don't feel like a woman either. I don't feel like I have any connection to that term. I don't feel like when somebody addresses a room and says ladies that it applies to me. I don't feel like that. I don't feel like a mom. I don't feel like that either. So this is less about me trying to be like, I want to be a woman as opposed to a man, and it's like it's not really like that. It's more like I want to be more feminine as opposed to be more masculine. It's kind of complicated. So how do I feel about femininity? Well, it's complicated. I have similarly complicated feelings about femininity. I always have had like a weird body, weird mix of physical traits that kind of make me feel very feminine at times. Um, and but that's really not the limit of it because I don't want to get the sense that I feel like I want to be feminine just because I'm bad at being masculine. And that's really not it. It's a combination of other things. I like feeling feminine. In the same way that I can enjoy feeling masculine, I can enjoy feeling feminine. It's very much like kind of like an equal and opposite pole almost. Um, just very different. I can feel masculine and like feeling masculine when I work out and I feel stronger, or when I listen to certain music, but at the same time I can feel very feminine also. Um, for Pride, when I talked about, I got rid of all my body hair, which was a lot. I had a medium drink cup from Burger King, and I wanted to see how much of I could fill, and I filled the cup all the way up with body hair, and it's like, Jesus, that's a lot of body hair. But it felt really good. It feels really good to be physically feminine, and that's kind of why, oh, you just want to be feminine because you suck at being masculine and you're a fail like manlet, and it's like not really because it feels affirming to be physically feminine. It's like there's a very warm positivity there, and it's not from a sexual perspective. I mean, there's obviously an aspect to it where when you feel comfortable in your body, you feel more sexually charged because you feel like you're living in your body. One of the big problems I have with is I have like kind of a latent association with masculinity, but it also just kind of feels like I am in a masculine robot made of meat that I drive from place to place. Whereas when I'm feeling feminine, it feels like a physical extension of my mental being. You know, it feels like it's it's corporeal, but it's also part of my body. You know, that's very different from how I feel when I feel masculine. It's very different, you know. So when I identify as feminine, it's very different. You know, I like feeling smooth and I like wearing makeup. You know, I like feeling softer. I like looking softer. I like wearing skirts. I think they're very comfortable. Um, Jeans can suck, you know, just as much as jeans are comfortable. If your skin is thin or if you have a weird hair situation going on, it sucks to feel that coarse friction. Skirts are nice, like seriously. Um, you know, it's it's such a weird feeling to like identify with femininity, and you know, I feel that sometimes. Like some people will like guys, or like even like I'm not even gonna exclude this to guys, but people like watch like a lingerie commercial and like see women kind of like it pans over their legs or whatever in their underwear or whatever, and they're kind of running their hands over themselves, you know, as you do in one of these, I guess, alternate underwear dimensions of questionable lighting. I don't know. And rather than feeling like sexual attraction to that, I'll feel like a physical desire to embody that. You know, it's kind of a different feeling altogether, you know. And I never feel that way about looking at somebody like a guy who's really ripped, who's really bulky, and like that doesn't, I don't want to embody that. You know, I don't want that to be my corporeal form nearly as much as I want to be, you know, a Victoria's Secret underwear model, I guess. I really don't want to look like that. I really, I have kind of an aversion to people I think look too perfect. Like it feels fake. It feels, you know, so I don't want to look like that. But, you know, like feeling feminine feels affirming. You know, it feels like, and this is complicated by the fact that I'm very aware I don't have a feminine bone structure, or a feminine body. I have like a weird, lumpy, um, failing masculine body. It's not great. But having feminine aspects to it really feels good. It feels nice. And I have a desire to be more like that sometimes, you know. Um, and it's weird because I feel like I have like a desire to be more masculine on a social and personal level. Like I talked a lot about how I identify with hobbies and movies and characters on a masculine level. But a lot of my, you know, feminine identification just comes from a physical affirmation, you know, things I want about my body, you know, things I want to be different in a way I'd prefer. And again, it's not really even like a sexual thing. It's really not. Like, and that's people's assumption is that like, oh, like you're attracted to women, so you see that form as attractive as opposed to men, and it's like that's really not true because like I'm attracted to and have been intimate with all kinds of people, like not just women or even, you know, like, so I don't really think that that's accurate, you know. I do worry about that. I worry about that this is some kind of weird manifestation of sexual attraction, but at the same time, it's like, you know, I don't think so, or at least if there is that, it's only a small aspect of it, you know. Um, so I have this, you know, physical comfort that I feel, or physical pull that I feel towards, you know, being feminine, having feminine aspects, um, and just embodying a feminine form, you know. But on the other hand, my disillusion with that, you know, what's pushing me away from that is that I don't know how to be feminine, you know, and I have a a weird relationship to that because I identify, I guess, very much more with punky, you know, 20 something year old women that I've met, a lot of trans women that I met that aren't concerned with, you know, being like a mom or being a lady. You know, they're much more concerned with being feminine, but in their own way. You know, they don't need to have like conventional clothing. They don't need to have natural toned hair. They don't need to, you know, be, they don't have to look like a mom, I guess. They're their own person in a way that kind of appeals to me. And that's kind of my problem with being feminine is like, well, but I don't want to be a woman, you know? It's a weird separation where it just as much as like I feel a pull to be masculine, I don't feel part of man or man society or man expression or man culture. I don't really feel like a woman either. Um I don't feel like I identify with a lot of things that, I would argue like pop mom culture. I don't want to watch like I'm such like a huge weird nerd, but I'm also like an enthusiast for like punk and like culture and stuff like that. And there's a lot of people I know like that are women or are trans women, and that's fine. I just feel like is that like a an unrealistic thing to want? Is it unrealistic to be like I want to be feminine, but I don't want to be a mainstream conventional woman, you know? And it's really complicated to be like I want to have a feminine body. I identify with being, soft and sleek and feminine and curling my eyelashes and wearing makeup and getting rid of all my facial and body hair and that sort of thing. But at the same time, I don't want to conventional woman, like I have no ties to like identifying myself as a lady, like it's not something that appeals to me at all. I don't think that it appeals to me, I guess, you know? So I guess I don't feel part of womanhood, I guess, either. So I feel like weird about that for wanting like to be feminine, to like liking feeling feminine. I touched earlier about how like I don't feel like a man because I don't like being physically aggressive or sexually aggressive or domineering or hierarchical or you know um, things like that. Um, and I feel like a lot of my expression is much more feminine in that way. I feel like I have a much more nurturing, supportive aspect to my personality. Um, I like being not sexually submissive, but being like sexually egalitarian, I guess would be a better word for it. I don't like to like push people into objects or be on or dominate people or you know anything like that. Like I've done that and it's fun, but I don't want that to be, part of what I don't like being masculine as your sexuality is I don't like feeling like sex is a thing I do to people. I feel like a lot of being masculine or being a man and having sex is doing sex to somebody. You're the person doing the sex and somebody else is receiving the sex or being affected by the sex rather. And I don't like that. I much prefer a more even tone to even receptive sexual experience. I prefer that socially too. Like I don't feel like I identify with masculine approaches. I feel like I want to be more receptive. I feel like I want to be, receiving attention as much as sending it. I feel like I want to be, that kind of person. I feel like that's much more who I am as a person, and I associate that with femininity. And so I guess that's what my draw to femininity is this. And the downside is that I don't have a lot of connection to female, feminine, woman characters and media as much. So you can kind of see like how my appeals and drawbacks to femininity are almost the reverse of masculinity. And so it's very weird, hence what I'm trying to puzzle out here. Um, so I guess this second video is kind of a mirror to the first one and why I'm looking at my gender and physicality. So I'm going to try to put out more of these as my feelings progress, but this is just kind of my surface level thoughts recorded in 15-minute chunks. So thank you for listening, I guess. Bye.